Hello, everyone. This is Mike Sulecki coming to you with another Practicing with Sulecki segment. Happy St. Patty's Day, by the way. Got all my green on, ready to rock. Today, we're talking about what in the world this thing is and how to play it in tune. First of all, this is a trombone, for those of you who didn't know. And how you play it in tune is actually a little bit easier than you'd think. A lot of the principles that we use with this are the same that we use when playing string instruments. Because this and string instruments of the violin, viola, cello, double bass kind do not have any frets. They just have a giant tuning slide pretty much. It's the same exact concept when you put fingers down on a violin. It's actually the same concept when you put your fingers down on a guitar, but they have frets, so that helps us play a little bit more in tune. With this, there are no frets. There is very little help. There is actually a tuning slide up here, which is actually a little bit confusing, so we're going to talk about that right about now. So we have a giant tuning slide here, and we move this into one of 7 different positions, first being all the way in. And then second, roughly halfway between first position all the way in and the edge of the bell. And then third, very roughly, being around the edge of the bell. Now, when some people play, they actually put their fingers on the bell as kind of a guideline. I do that, but I'm working on breaking that habit. I encourage you folks at home to try to avoid doing that because the positions actually change ever so slightly depending on which register we're in. So sometimes you actually have to bring it in a tiny bit, even though you know that it's in third position. If you're playing really high, you have to bring it in even more than usual. So if we get in the habit of locking our fingers on the edge of the bell, that'll make our lives a little bit harder in the long run. And fourth position, the end of your slide casing, roughly at the end of the edge of the bell. Fifth, way out here in no man's land, so that's why we're working on tuning to get an idea of where this is supposed to go. Sixth, and then seventh is pretty much right here at the edges, and most trombones, 9 out of 10, have a little line here. That is actually kind of a way to help us guess where 7th position is, but again, that we got to use our ears just like everything else. So the first step is finding a note you're really comfortable with playing. As a trumpet person, I'm comfortable playing concert F. So that would be a G on trumpet. That would still be an F on here because this is a C instrument. And what you want to do is play a note you're most comfortable with as long as it's in first position. So you could do low B flat, F in the middle, or high B flat. You want to adjust your embouchure and your air so that it sounds as beautiful as humanly possible. You want to have everything nice and open. You want the sound waves to bounce off the room in such a way that it fills up the whole room with your sound without you having to blow very hard. And let me demonstrate really quickly. So if I'm tuning with an F, it's not bad, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fish around. I'm going to raise my tongue in my mouth, and I'm going to tighten my embouchure a little bit, curl my lips in a little bit, so I'm going yee, and then I'm going to relax a little bit so I'm a little bit low, and I'm going to keep fishing around like that till I found the spot where it actually sounds the best in the room that I'm in. And you can kind of hear that all the sound waves are working together. If I'm too relaxed, I don't have very good tone. It sounds like I'm just starting, and none of us are just starting, so we all can sound better than that. And if I'm too high, everything's too tensed, then it's going to sound really pinched and not like a real instrument, just someone playing a kazoo wrapped in a trombone body. And most of the time you get the wrong note. So we fish until we find the right note. Let's go to a B flat because that's the one we use in class to tune. And it sounds big, but I'm honestly not blowing very hard. I'm just going straight in and straight out. Notice my back's not touching the back of the chair. This chair I like because it reminds me not to touch it. If I sit with my back on the back of this chair, I poke my trombone and I can't play anything. So I found a good note on here, and I look at my handy dandy tuner. This is the Tonal Energy app, and I think it's like $5, but there are, I think, hundreds of free tuning apps. You can find whichever one you like. I kind of like this one because when you're in tune, it's got a smiley face, and then when you're close to being in tune, it's got a little thinky face, if you can hear. Ba. It's thinking about me being in tune. I am no great singer, so that explains that. But when I was playing, my tuner thinky face was said I was a little flat. So if I'm too low, I'm too flat. I want to make my instrument. Wow, I was really sharp. My bad. If I'm really sharp, my note's too high. I want to make my instrument bigger because the bigger the instrument, the lower the notes. So I'm going to pull it out just a tiny bit, and you can barely see that it's moving. The name of the game with tuning stuff is just a tiny bit. This is where I started. I'm going to pull it out here. Now I'm going to find my most comfortable B flat of all time. And it still says I'm sharp. Now when I'm finding my note, I'm not looking at the tuner because without realizing it, we're letting the tuner do the thinking for us. If you have to close your eyes, that's totally fine. That's how I started off doing it. Find the most beautiful B flat you've ever played in your entire life and keep adjusting it a tiny bit at a time. Yeah, getting there. Yep, so I'm a little flat now, so I'll split the difference and call it a day. Beautiful. So what I'm going to try out here is one page, which I am, if my printer scans everything right, from the Teaching Brass, A Guide for Students and Teachers. This is a super good book. And the cool thing is that a lot of the exercises it has are for all of the brass instruments. Got them all listed along the side. So if we ever have, God willing, a just brass class, this would be super cool because everything in it is based around partials and everything in it really helps us as brass players. This is number 37. This a link to this page should be in the description if I get my technology working. All it is working on intonation by starting with your F, and then we are at first position. Then we're adding one position at a time. Goes down to B natural, then goes down to B flat, and then keeps going down all the way to C. And then we go to a lower partial and a higher partial. Now, what they recommend for each of these is to build our ear strength by playing it with a tuner. Now I found my second position, but take a look. For me, how everything's going today, temperature, humidity, embouchure, amount of warmed up, all that kind of stuff, makes my second position a lot further in than we think. Most people, when they think, okay, it's halfway in between 1 and 3, they go roughly about here, because that's roughly, if you eyeball it, especially from our end of the barrel, that looks like halfway in between. So we're not going to look at our hands positions, we're going to look at our tuners to make sure we're in the right spot. And then it says remove mouthpiece and buzz the same notes. So I'm going to keep these two notes in my head, the F down to D. And then I'm going to buzz it. I take off my mouthpiece. One thing with giant brass instruments, aka trombone, baritone, euphonium, tuba, when you're buzzing, there's no back pressure because all of this tubing makes a lot of back pressure. When you're buzzing, what comes in here is exactly what goes out. So there is a risk of hyperventilating if you go all day and every day, and nobody likes the sound of that. So what I do is I cheat, and cheating is totally fine in this case. You put your pinky over half of the shank of the mouthpiece, so you can almost see my eyeball in there. And that way, it creates a little bit of back pressure, so my air's not leaving my body as fast and I don't hyperventilate. And after all that talking, I forgot the notes, so let's double check. And humming it, singing it, whistling it is totally cool. These are all things we do to build our ear muscles. Close. Not bad for a rookie, right? And then the dreaded fifth position, D flat. Yeah, so I do that a couple times. I can even buzz that. And the idea is, as I go down to C, oh, hit the smiley face right on. Nice. So the idea is to train your hands and your lips and everything in your body to work alongside your ears. Once we play these instruments for a long time, and some of you have been playing them for a long time, we need to trust our bodies to do what they're supposed to. Our ears know what to do. Our ears know what sounds right. If I'm trying to play F to, let's say, C, it's not quite there. I'm just not extending my hand far enough, so I wasn't getting there the first time. Just exactly the same thing that violin players do, and viola players, and cello players, and double bass players. Fun fact, if you find any double bass music, you can totally play it on trombone, baritone, euphonium. It reads the same thing, but it comes out an octave lower. Some of you orchestra people already know that. So I'm just going down this entire page. Sometimes it tells you to take the mouthpiece out and buzz. You can do that with every single thing they ask you to do on here. You don't need to wait for them to tell you to take the mouthpiece out. So then it goes up to the high register. All that stuff I can do on the mouthpiece as well. I'm just speeding through time so this doesn't take forever to upload. Each time I'm moving my hands slowly so that I can line up with that smiley face. So the fun part, once we get used to lining up with a smiley face or a green signal or a line right in the middle of a spectrum, whatever your tuner does, and there's millions out there, whatever your tuner does, then we get in the habit of tuning using just our ears. So this is our B flat, and you'll notice, I'm not going to do this long because this is kind of an annoying sound. When I'm in tune, thank you. When I'm in tune, the sound waves are not fighting each other. When I'm out of tune, they're going hang, 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 hang. The waves you can hear in the sound is literally the sound waves crashing into each other, which is one of my favorite music facts. And the more you work on it, the more you can recognize when notes other than your B flat are out of tune. So if I was playing something like this, It sounds crazy out of tune, but that A flat was actually in tune, third position A flat. And I just know that for a long time of working on this stuff, trust me. If I was playing F, and then I played a C, it would actually sound really good against the F. So, moral of the story, use your ears as much as humanly possible. Start off with playing it, then singing what you just played, then play it on the mouthpiece so your lips get the idea. We're just training our ears. This is the art and science of audiation, I call it. Hearing in your head notes that you're not hearing with your ears. So you just got to remember the note you're playing. And you want to sing it as accurately as possible. So I will send out this sheet and I will send out this video. Again, happy St. Patty's Day, happy practicing, and yeah, keep playing trombone.